G'day, how you going? Ianapolis here, your acrylic guru from Australia. Welcome to my video. Now this is a bit of a different video for you beginners. I want to put together a video that'll get you a bit more knowledge on your greens. So this is to understand your greens. And if you look up here, I've already gone and made a chart with colouring greens with different colours. So if you come over here first, I want to explain this and then show you a picture today what we're going to reference from so you can understand how and why these colours will work for you when you're doing a landscape. Because I've done it in my past, I've been guilty of it. You put your greens in and you've either muted them too much or they're the same colour all the way through from foreground to foreground. So we're going to learn how to put the dead colours and the vibrant colours and the deep colours into these green landscape colours we're going to do in the future, alright? So come over here and have a look at this. So what I've gone and done here is I've done this a few days ago. I've mixed up my own green colour chart. Now the best colour is your cadmium yellow light. You can get cadmium yellow mid, but I prefer to use the light. So this is the yellow side, and these are the tinting colours we're going to add to it. So I've got burnt umber, I've used carbon black, you just use black, and French ultramarine blue. Now what I've done, I've got the yellow, alright, I've got just a littlest bit on there and tinted it up till we got this colour, okay? Now with this colour, I got a little bit more burnt umber and put into it till it became this colour. And then this colour, you know, you scrape some of that out, put over here, add a little bit more burnt umber, and it slowly gets darker, a little bit more, and a little bit more, and you got all these different tones of green. Then with the cadmium yellow light again, we're using black. I've just used a carbon black. You can use Mars black. Try different blacks. Now we've got the mid cadmium yellow light again, and we've just put the littlest bit of black, and we've got this colour here of green. Then we've added a little bit more, and we've got this one. Then we've got that colour, put it there, a little bit more, and then we've got this tone here, shade, whatever you want to call it, so on and so on. So you've got all these different shades of green. And then we've done the same with the French ultramarine. In my opinion, the French ultramarine gives you more real green toned colours than what the phthalo blue does. The phthalo blue is a bit loud and bright, maybe vivid, but they still come in handy for pictures. So if anything, these would be my three favourites for real life looking greens. So again, we've got the yellow, we've put a little bit of French ultramarine blue in, we've got this shade, we've pulled some of that out, put there, a little bit more, and so on, a little bit more, French ultramarine blue, a little bit more to that, brings you to this tone here, okay? Now I want to show you, once you've made something like this up, also I've done a brown one as well. I've used Van Dyke brown, just the same way, just so you got some of those dead stick branchy burnt grass looking colours in your greens as well. And the primary blue, I just tried a primary blue to see what you get. Pretty close to the phthalo, but it's a bit more vivid, you know, a bit more light and bright and fluorescent-y, okay? So let's compare this to a reference we're going to use. Okay, I found this picture as a good reference. So what we've got here, we've just got a very pale sky full of atmosphere. It's virtually grey white or smoky white, okay? And we've got some distant landscape in the background, which is covered with the sky atmosphere. Then we've got some mid-range hills in the middle of it, which are a little bit darker than the foreground. And then we've got the foreground, which is right here and here. And these have got lovely treetop canopy shapes on the top of these we can get with these greens. So in this picture you can see here, let's say the burnt woody sticky colours, there's here, and light bits in the middle of all these trees. So then you can compare the chart that you've mixed up and go, okay, I'm going to use maybe this colour down here for all the dead bits. I can see the mid-tones and your darker tones in there, and you can work out what greens you want. And if you want, say, this flavour here, well, you know you're going to mix the cadmium yellow light and your black, a few tints to get there, and you can mix it on your palette so you can compare and move it along so you can see just how bright and dark you're going in those mixes, okay? So we're going to use this, and we've got some pretty bright greens down there. So this is going to help us get a more realistic tree look green scenery in our painting for beginners, okay? But this will take a lot more time than your average painting you're going to learn as a beginner from a tutorial. So this is, you've been doing painting for quite a bit now. You've followed a few tutorials here, and you're a beginner, and you've learned how to do some basic and sometimes great and effective looking art. Well, now I want to teach you to start understanding, let's say, your greens, and let's start giving it a more realistic look instead of just a quick, easy stamping process. You are a beginner and you can do anything, okay? And I'm here to show you how easy it is, all right? Just because you're a beginner doesn't mean you cannot do all things. You give it a go. Also, it's going to take a bit more, like I said, a bit more time in doing these sort of paintings, but that's okay, because a painting can take an hour, a day, a month, a year. That's okay, because it's going to sit on the wall for the rest of eternity until this planet is no more, all right? Now, we're also going to need some different brushes for this. So in this video, I'm going to be doing some speed filming, but it won't be too long and it won't bore the buggery out of you as well, all right? Because I know that can be quite a nuisance when 90% of a video is just all speeded up. All right, so hang with me there. And like I said, this might be a bit more than longer than usual video. And if it is, I might have to break it up into a couple of parts. So let's come over here now and look at what some different brushes we can use, all right? Now, I'm going to keep that green chart close by, so when I'm looking at my reference picture, I can work out what colours. And we're going to block in our canvas as well with this way, instead of just doing it the way you've seen me do normal videos. This one entails blocking in with the different tones and shades of colours of greens and reflections, and then we're just going to simply detail over the top of it, okay? But it's going to be a fun process. So down here I've gone and looked for some more smaller brushes that can do more smaller, you know, stamping effects, foliage, shading in. Look at this brush I found at the art shop there. It was, I don't know, it's probably got a proper name for it. This one here is a 1/2-inch deer foot, so I'm obviously assuming, because it looks like the foot of a horse or a deer down there, but this is going to do some great detailing and shadowing down there, I find. I've got a smaller one as well, in case I need smaller ones. I've also got myself, well, I made this one quite a while ago. It's pretty much a chiseled edge brush, and I want to work out which way, as I'm going along, what sort of foliage this can give me. I've got some fan brushes, mainly the smaller type, and I want to try and get the real smallest types of foliage in the background with them, and the grass in the field. So I'll give that a go as well. And I've got like a, what do we got here? We've got a Series K round. It's just a West Star, but it's it looks, I don't know what you call that, it's a round. I'm going to see how that can go for shadow and foliage as well. You need to experiment with brushes and find out what they can do for you. And when you're doing a painting, you'll know which brush you have a great relationship with to do those sort of brush movements on your canvas. Well, for those people, there's the size of the canvas in centimetres, which I usually give out, all right? And some people want to know what it is in inches, all right? There's the size in inches if you really must know what it is in inches. But to me, it doesn't matter what size the canvas is. It's that size. It can be this size or this size. It's up to you. I'm going to come here now, and I'm just going to pull the colours we're using up the screen there like that. And you can catch up and work out what colours we're using as well. It's going to be mainly greens, but we're going to be mixing our greens. Now back to the reference, I'm going to block it in. So I'm going to block in the sky colour. You can pencil it in if you like to work out where you're going to go. This is just my reference picture. Whatever reference picture, so you get an idea of what my reference picture looks like. I'm going to have this big peninsula type thing with green foliage and canopy coming out there with its shadow. I'm going to have the light colour blocked in, this tone blocked in, here, here and here. Now just like the chart, I've got me cad yellow lights and the colours on this side on my palette. I've got the burnt umber, the black, the French ultramarine, and down here, if I'm going to need the Van Dyke brown for the burnt sticky wood bits. All right, I might just dip my brush in a bit of retarder just so this doesn't dry, because it is acrylic we're working in. So let's say here's our first colour, right? So we're going to grab majority of that and a tinsiest bit. Let's mix the whole lot up to get our first tint done. Okay, you can use a knife, but like I said, you're going to have to make that board first. Go to the beginning of the video and work out what colours I use to get those tones, and then see what we've got here. Now we want to go a bit darker as well, because we're going to block in the so we're going to get some more of this now, and then we're going to do a second bit here, and then once we've got all these colours, we can block in our area layout referencing from the reference picture. Okay, a little bit more there. You could see the different greens we're getting from the burnt umber and the mid yellow. Okay, then we'll grab a bit more. We'll come to this tone here, not too much, and this will come a bit darker again. And these are going to be our, if anything, our browny greens, brown shadows. That's the way I'm looking at it. Okay, so we've got these browny greens coming on here, and then I want to pencil in the rough shape of our reference. Now I've just done rough pencil line of all the different areas that I need to block in. Okay, and I'll show you a bit more in detail when we get to that. So we're going to go back down to some more mixing, and once you've got this mixing done, you're ready to start your painting. Paintings don't happen straight away. You've got to work your way into them. I'll get a bit of retarder mixed with that. Now we're going to go for the black. So that brush, have yourself a few brushes. That brush is going to be for that tint there. Now we're going to go for the black. So watch this. We'll get a little bit of black into this, and we'll get some different greens happening out of this mid yellow light, cadmium yellow light. I don't know why I called it mid yellow light. It's cadmium yellow light. Don't get it mixed up with the medium. I've got a cadmium yellow medium, and these tints work a lot better with the light. Now we're going to add a bit more black. See how much I'm not really putting much in there. Now these yellows are going to be the dark shadowy greens, this tint we're doing here, like the blacky greens and, you know, that depth colours we're looking for, and it'll work great. See, look at all these. We've got 6 colours here already. Now we're going to get a bit more just here. I'm going to just do 3 up to now just to block it in, and we're going to go a bit darker again, a little bit more. You can see the green coming there. To me, that cadmium yellow light is very vivid, and it really opens up the black to allow it to become that green tone. All right, so I'm going to leave that brush for those ones as well, so I'm not constantly washing brushes. I've got my brush for the burnt umber mix, the black mix. Now I'll use one for the French ultramarine mix. So you'll see what the ultramarine does now. It's totally different to the brown and the black. It's given it more of the green colour. We just want some light there. Get some retarder in there. Now there's one green. Let's get this over here and get another tint made up. I'm just mainly doing this so you can see exactly how those colours work with the yellow. And we'll get some of this one made up here. Okay. And then if you want that colour or that tone or that tone or this tone, you know, because you've made that chart, you know how much yellow to put into that colour, blue, black or brown, whatever it was. So this is a lot of fun. It's really understanding the science of art the more you do it. I mean, I'm no expert at this, but common sense prevails when you see colours happening in front of you. And I'm sure a lot of other artists know how to mix colours better than me as well, but we're all learning. All right. Now, I want to start blocking in the painting. I'm going to start at the back and come forward, okay? So I want to get this sort of... I'm just finding these flat brushes good enough to block in. Just sort of block in the area where you want those colours. Looking at your reference here and there, we've got some over here. This is not going to look like the reference picture. I'm just using it as a reference. Just so you know, I've just gone and mixed up the yellow with the Van Dyke brown because I haven't got any dead stick burnt old grass colour here. I've got it here and I can see I need it from the reference. The rest of the green in here. This is the green mixed with the black. Alright, I've pretty much blocked in everywhere I can. I'm just going to block in the sky colour and then I'll show you comparing it to my reference picture. You know, it doesn't look a lot like it, but the layouts of the different depths of shadow and lightness are there, okay? Now I'm just going to use this brush to block in the sky. And I've got some French ultramarine and I want to mix that with the white just to get the most palest white. You see, I'm not using much at all. I just don't want a pure white. The sky, once we've painted the sky in, that'll be it. We won't do nothing more to the sky. So there we go. I'm going to just dampen my brush a bit just so that's going to flow, but that's the colour white I want for our sky. So I want to paint this in. Just come to your trees there just like that. Scratch it in. Alright, there we go. We've blocked it in. Now it's ready to dry. It does need to be dry, okay? So we've got the sky colour in there. And now I want to show you how we're going to detail this with those same greens that we mixed up. And it's a matter of working from the back to the front, looking at your reference, which mine is there. So I'm going to start on this mountain here. And I'm going to start doing the very faint but detailed tops of those trees, the canopy tops of those trees, and then come forward and looking where the darks are, okay? So my painting's dry and I'm going to put in the dark bits for this far mountain. I'm just going to use this brush to mix up the colour. So I'm going to use the burnt umber for this one. Get some of that. So I'm pretty familiar with what colour yellow I want to mix with it, whether it's the black, the brown or the blue. But I want it reasonably dark. Then we'll get the brush that we're going to use. Now I'm going to use that, what do they call it, a pony foot or something? A deer foot. So I'm going to use my smaller one. Now I want to make sure that the brush is reasonably damp but not too wet. Now that paint's just mixed. This is a good quality paint. And see all these, you might have to do just a couple of passes at a time. But that's what I want to do up there. I don't want like that. So I'm looking at there and we want to sort of, where is the angle of this? This has got to be darker over there, which it is. And we're just going to, probably just a few stamps each time. I've gone for my bigger one because it covers more area. Okay, now I've gone over the whole lot with this, but I've kept some concentration on where I want the actual dark bits, because while I went over the whole lot, I want this to be the depth in the detail in the background. So this painting, remember, it's you take your time and the details work. Now this is me blue line. It's a bit messy, but I know where everything is. So I want the blue French ultramarine mixed with this, about the third shade on my chart I want. So I'm knowing how deep green, yellowy I want that there. So I'm going to try this fan brush just on its corner, and it's a bit, we want some canopy tops of the trees out there, and the bits that you don't do, that colour you put underneath there is going to make up for it. But that, okay, that brush is so-so. Let's try this one. It's a little bit finer. You're going to have to experiment with brushes. Oh, yeah. See, I'm barely touching it. I don't want big blobs, or else it's going to spoil the detail of me painting. But we're going to go like this and see bits that you don't do. How's that looking? That's not too bad. Where are we coming down here? Lightly touching it. Lightly. Well, I've got some really good ones there I could see, but then again I've got some big ugly ones. And see, all this is doing is detailing the background, but when someone looks at your painting, it's given it a sense of realism. I'm just trying another brush now, that one that I cut on a chisel edge. I don't want the paint too thick though, and I'm going to try and, because this is the background, if anything we want it fine detail, not big blobby bright stuff. That's working different, and it's working a bit better. See, this side here I've done some big blobby bits, so this is pretty much doing what I want. It'll pay to grab some brushes and some paint and some canvases and grab one brush at a time and work out how many different ways you can use that brush and what kind of strokes it would put onto your canvas, and you'll be surprised. And over time certain brushes will become your favourite. How's that going? It's starting to look a bit more detail-y out there. All the way along here. Lightly does it, but you're getting it there. I tell you what, I'm looking in my monitor and I can see how it's looking to the beginner's eye. It's great. And all that dark bit I put on there is putting the depth in this. Now I want to try and disturb those pattern lines there. I want it to look more like nature out there. I can see some lines look like it was done by a machine. That's good enough. Some over here now, a bit more over here. You know, turn your brush around, mix it up. Get that dribbling into that there. And we're going to leave this colour out there, that colour. When we come closer, we'll put more highlights and stuff. But don't forget, this is the distance out there. You don't want to go detailing this too much, but it's looking quite far away. In the reference, I can see a bit of light that's making sense there. So I've picked up some of the Van Dyke Brown that I mixed with this. And I'm going to try and get this boldy bare ridge coming down here to give it that look. Just lightly tapping it. How's that looking in there? Tell you what, that looks green on the monitor, doesn't it? But it's not green here. Coming down there, and we got a bit over here as well. Get it a bit more lighter, because it's in the background. You don't want this too dark. The Van Dyke Brown and the yellow that I've mixed here, it was very greeny, so I've added the slightest bit of titanium white on my brush, and it has given me these dead sandy looks that are in the reference picture that sort of give it that sense of distance and deadness out there. We want to detail this before we do. We've got to put the dark in there. So I'm grabbing that one I used before, the Deerfoot brush. It's the one I can stamp in all that black. I'm detailing the blacky coloured area over the block in. Not too much. Don't do it too thick. We just want it dotted here and there, okay? This has got to go on before the detail. If you just put the detail over the block, you're going to miss out on a section, and you're going to wonder why it didn't quite look the way it should have looked. So we're just stamping in some dark here. Now this is the black with a little bit of yellow with it. See, and we just want it dotty. It's going to create so many different shadows in that hill. And to me, the blocking is indicating the different colours there. Slowly getting to the front of the painting, we can start putting some shadows in here. I'm just using the reference as a guide, because some parts are more darker in shadow than others as it's coming forward. You might have a little bit in the background, but as we come forward, we want to try and detail that with shadow. And then all we're going to do is put our canopies on it, treetop canopies, and the closer we can get, we can start highlighting some of those canopies as well. So this colour under there, that's the darker tone I blocked it in. I'm going to use the next medium one to highlight it, and then as you come closer, I'll use the lighter one again. Everything's dry now. Really lightly find your motion. This is going to go over the back there, that darker bit. And we're getting some. This is the yellow mixed with the black. See how lightly I'm touching that? You go and do a big one like that, you're going to cry. Patience is a virtue of something like this, so please take your time. And we're going to make some, just like umbrella tops. Oh, not too much there, Ian. Think like trees. So easy to say, but it's not the same to do. How's that looking? It's looking like mountains, but just not a simple, easy, stampy one. You're a beginner and you've put a bit more effort into it. So where are we here? Now I'll put some of this there as well. And then there we go, different colours. I want to get this colour now before I start putting this in front of it. So I'm grabbing the colour just to detail these pockets of different burnt out areas or dead areas in the bush up there. This is just the yellow mixed with the Van Dyke brown. I just want to, it's not in the picture, but I want to put just the slightest here in the background as well while I've still got the background open, just to give it some light hitting some ridges there. And I could probably see another one wanting to happen somewhere here. This is all patience, small tiny detailed footprints of your paintbrush in there, and look what you can get. Now I'm looking in there, I'm looking at it, and I could probably, let's just see if I'm right or wrong. A little bit of light hitting here. Yeah, that'll do. Quick while you're ahead, Ian. See what I mean by mucking around? A little bit of light hitting there. Now I've got the French ultramarine blue in me yellow, and I'm mixing it to that degree there. I'm liking this jagged edge brush that I've made. So where are we now? We're in here now. So I'm just going to lightly put some canopies here, leaving some dark. If anything, I'm sort of doing like that over the painting in my mind. Now you need the paint a bit wet. This will work brilliant in oils. It really will, but acrylics can be challenging, but I love a challenge. Now we're coming down to this lighter section, so I've just added a little bit more yellow to that mix again, just to change the colour of our trees here. Now I'm just grabbing some black on the end of that brush. I want to make sure it's, that's it, not too blobby. And now the bottom here, we've got a bit more detail of shadow in the bottom here. I might use a different brush for that. I'll use this fan brush, see how that can work. I just want some sort of stuff, and then I'll grab that other brush that I was using to spider that up in a roundabout way, because this is that brown bit you can see under this black is the bank there. This one here, because it is closer, I'm going to highlight it with some more detail highlights. How's that looking in the monitor? Yeah, just getting the darks there so as the detail's got something to go over and stand out with. Okay, now this colour green, I've added a little bit more yellow, and I want to just the tiniest start highlighting this. Look how lightly I'm touching that, just so I'm getting the most frickly, where's the colour there? And then over the shadow here, I want them, how's that looking? It's going to come in front of the shadow there, creating depth under there. I hope you can see just how lightly that's going on there. Okay. I want to do here before we get too lost in the moment, so we're going to grab a bit more of the blue and the yellow to get our darker green, and we want to put that in the water for its reflection as well. So I'm grabbing that brush that I like, and we're getting these colours in, and I'm just pulling them a little bit. I don't want to do too much of that because it's pretty much a mirror. How's that working? Not too bad. I might have to do some of the yellow over it. I'll just put it in there. It's mainly up the top here where it's hitting there, because this is all there. That's that bit, and this is that bit. So we'll get that in there like so. Maybe I should have put the black in there. I think I should have, because it's, I'll get away with this. I'm gonna cheat. Now we want that colour with the yellow in it. I mean, they've all got yellow in it, haven't they? I mean the brown. Get all this up in there. Pull it down. Just to give this a sense of realism over here, I want to put the black in there, slightly drag it, and then I'll put the appropriate greens and whatnot over it, because you can see the difference with this bit with the black. I love this brush, it's working beautifully. Try and keep these really straight up and down. I've just got the yellow that had the black mixed with it, and I'm just stamping over that shadows now to sort of give them a sense of realism, reflections in the water. See? Nice and fine, hairy and fine. I'll give them the slightest pull down, just like that, just the slightest, you know. And squint your eyes, look at your work and see where you're going well with it, and pat yourself on your back. You can do this. This just takes time. I've just stamped in some green and black under there, then that green there to fix that bank up because it's not quite looking right. Now I'm just going to get some black here and do a reasonable straight line there. Reasonably straight, just to acknowledge the water. There we go. And we'll just tassel that up a bit into the bush. This is just more detail over that darker green. And we'll do the same into the water. Just so it doesn't look like a line that was put there and something's not quite right with it. I'm just putting the smallest a bit of the Van Dyke brown mixed with the yellow along the bank here somewhere, and maybe some little bits scattered through here. Just somewhere where it's referencing in the top area. Alright, I've just had to charge my battery up because it went flat. And I've just changed this colour with the blue and the yellow and a bit of white mix because that's the way it is in the reference picture, and it's adding that. If it wasn't there, I'm sort of losing that sense of realism. So I put that there. Now I have the forest green here, getting over this, and I'm going to mix a bit more yellow with it just to get it to that degree that I want. I've always got the mid yellow ready to change the tones of these greens up, and we want them nice and fine over those black areas there. So it's going to sit that area behind it back nice. Now here we go, nice and fine. Work out how wet every brush. Now this green that I had here, I'm mixing a bit more yellow again, just a bit more, just so as I can see here, start putting the tops on there. Very lightly, and the canopies, different canopies. So we've got the black, the dark green, and the yellow green that we're doing now. You see what's happening? This is the actual shape. It's a bit too far away to detail with some trunks, but it's close enough just to get this on there, to unmute it from that grey, silvery green there I've got. And this is the one that creates the actual shape of your trees. How are we doing out there, eh? Right, now we're going to go and bring this bit in front of the foreground there, and the front ones here. And then with the water reflections, we're virtually, once we've got this reflection, the same as this, we're going to lace a bit of this colour into there and a bit of those into there and shimmy it up with some titanium white, all right? It's taking a while, but this is going to be worth it, all right? So be sure to subscribe to my videos if you haven't already, my channel here, and put the thumbs up. And there's be some links in the description below for my Facebook page and my video library, and also a link for my paintings in my Facebook page that are for sale. All my tutorials are for sale. Now, got the black again, a bit of water with it, just so it's going to come off. Not too wet though, that's a bit too wet. I want to wipe the brush on a rag and then just start picking that up again. That's better. And I'm using my deerfoot brush because it's going to leave shadow like that on the canvas. So we're virtually get all our spots on there, and then we can go and darken up the areas that have bands of darkness just by putting this over that blocked in green. Squinting your eyes, it kind of looks like distant forest and trees. And I'm not worried if some goes up in the air like that, because that's going to create trees in the skyline area. So that's there. Now I've dried that. I'm going to try the deerfoot again for the detail. Let's see. And we've got the darker green. We want to... I don't want to kill all that black. It's a bit vivid. I think vivid means watery and see-through, doesn't it? We'll put this there. Get some of this. And over the brownie bits, I'll put the brownie bits there. Okay. Now we're picking up some more of this. Very lightly. Now I've got the burnt umber mixed for this band coming down here with the appropriate amount of yellow. You've got that chart, look at the chart what you made and work out how much yellow you want to match your reference picture. I'm using the reference picture mainly to get the colours right. I'm not worried about the look being the same or the layout, but it's mainly to get those colours interacting with its other colours there so it looks more the way it would in real life. Now I'm going to wet that brush a bit more. I can find it's getting a bit dry. That's why you need to practice this. And you can see we're getting the appropriate greens with themselves. Hence the size of the foliage. Now we're just getting the other bottom section of this detailed over there, over this brown dead woody bit. With our darker colour green. Might just darken up something in there because I'm going to put some fine tree trunk up there later on. Now I want to slowly add yellow to that, the yellow brown, because I can see the brown in it. Okay, so I'm slowly grabbing the yellow brown to highlight that now, what we've just put on there. So let's hope it's a different green to that one. But see, it's not transferring. I've got to dry it. Just sourcing this colour up there, and I'm going to separate the top of it from the colour before it, and I'll darken up the shadow here so our foreground trees will be like there's some distance between them. Okay, see we've got that brown. I want to put a bit more brown in that. I'm liking the way when I look at it we got some of the dead brown foliage up here. Like you look in trees, you'll see the depth, which is the blackish colour, the colour green, and the deadish sort of colour. There's deadish colours in there. I was looking at the road side trees the other day, and that's what I'm doing now, just here, pockets of dead bits. It just adds that other sense of life. And I wouldn't mind this a little bit more darker green just there to finish this off, because it's a bit knocked back. And the finer you can get these leaf shapes, it just gives a sense of more realism. Now, I've washed that deer foot, and this bush here has got to come in front of it. But before I do, I want to sink this back with some shadow there, just so as it'll stand out the top line of these second row of trees we're going to put in. Be very light as you do this, if you feel you have to. If you've done it previously and you don't have to come back and do it like I am, that's good. Alright, we're back to this bush here now. We want to stamp in now, where our water line is, we want it a bit darker across there as well. It's coming up into the bush and down into the water. First, we'll give this some depth. If we don't, our shadows aren't going to look quite right. Just the lightest pull down there. Okay, I've stamped in the black over the block in colour. Now I've mixed up the French ultramarine blue and the mid yellow to the tone I want, so as we're going to get our desired green for those foregrounds. And then it's just a matter of pulling in either more blue. I'm going to put some yellow there, and if to highlight it we can pull in yellow. Now this is behind, we're not touching that. We're going to come from here. Now let's make sure that it's all a bit blobby. We want it nice and sharp into the black. There we go. And these are going to be more distinct canopy tops. I've mixed some burnt umber and white just to get this tone here for the colour of the trunks at the foreground, so we can see those, and this is going to enhance the painting. Well, we need this reasonably wet, so there's not too many. I want to, like the ground's about here, so I want to easily just put something up there like there is in the painting. Maybe something here. I'm twisting now as I go up, and if you feel it's not coming off the brush enough, moisten your paint a little bit more, which I've got to do now. See, the water's going to have some ripples in it, but it's reasonably flat as well, you know. Alright, I've done me trunks that I want and the reflections. Now I want to get a bit of dead brown, so I'm going to get me burnt umber and a bit of the yellow there and get a green of that going. Now I want to create some dead stuff under the tree, like so, banding across. Don't forget to image it down here as well, if you can. Just like so. Do be sure your paint's getting a bit wet. You know, these can go in front and behind the trunk. It's to sink them back. You want them nice and dotty and not blodgy. Okay? How we're getting there. And you want to try and keep them in a... How's that going now? Ooh, a bit heavy there, Ian. That's pretty much got that colour down there, so I don't have to do too much of that. Now we're going to use the green. I'm going to wash that brush. Now that green that we did the trees just then with, we're going to add the yellow into that to make it a bit brighter, lighter, highlighted. See, that's the browny green. This is the bluey green. And that's what this video is all about, learning your greens. So now I want to do the tops of all that now very lightly. Get some canopies hovering over this. I'm just getting some more over here, just so I can do the reflections as I go. Pull them down. I'm just adding some low-lying shrub vinery stuff over the bank, so I don't have to do an actual bank. And I want to get these distinct, different, brighter colours. And we're just getting the... See, I've added a little bit more yellow, not too much. Just to get these... brighter leaves, foliage. So back to my reference picture, before we squizzle this water together, I want to replicate some sort of grassy bank on my painting like they've got here. Because as you would agree on my painting, it's looking a bit naked, and you don't want anything a bit naked. So that's sort of yellowy green. So I'm just going to use a fan brush, and I'm going to get this green and really get it yellowy green. I want more yellow. So I'll just drag that in as I need it. So let's see, I want to sort of get the banks. If this brush is too big, not too bad. I've got to keep black under and on top. Now I might have to use a small flathead brush. Just, where's it go? It sort of goes all the way around here as well. But keep the black there. I'm looking at my reference and I'm getting a reference on how it should look. And then if you lost some blacks along the way, you can put them back. And this is going to really make our water pop when we put the surface on top of the water. Okay, let's get that a bit sharper there. How's that? Now what I might do is I'm just picking up some more yellow again, just so as that bank that I've put on just there then, give it some vibrancy and some bullshit. There we go, just, how's that looking? I want to see. Yeah, not too much. Don't kill it. You don't want the lights all the way over there on the edge. If anything, you want light colours in the middle of your painting. There we go. Just to come back here, those tree trunks, we better sit them back into the proper perspective of the painting, because that little foreground I'll put there. So we want to put that back over like that. Just sit some of them in front of it, on top of it, I mean. Like that. Just been mucking around with this colour to get a bit more visual here. Get those trees on that ground that I just put down, and then quickly replicate them in the water as well, so as we don't forget. Make sure your paint is constantly... We've got some back off there, which are these ones. And obviously these ones are right on that island. Very thinly. See, it's breaking up. I already need more water on it for this type of painting, because this painting, if anything, it's a real sharp, fine, detailed one. I mean, I'd love to do this without having to film it, and I could probably have a better time enjoying what I'm doing. But don't get me wrong, I enjoy showing you what I can and cannot do with paints. That's what my channel's all about. There we go, we got some beautiful trees there. Okay, we've got our watercolour. We've got these colours on the palette. So I want to mix this up again, because what I did have there before is dry. Better clean my brush. It's very green. Now we'll grab some white, a little bit of French ultramarine blue. Now if anything, I want this a little bit darker than what the water originally was. Hopefully it will have to be darker. And we're going to grab this, and we want it reasonably flowing as well. Get some water on the palette there, because I want to put the surface on the water now. So what I want to do is sort of come in here and just sort of ribble around very lightly and get some surface on there. Now I'm finding the paint breaking up, so I want to... There we go. We're bringing the water colour into here. Now I'm going to wipe that brush. Now grab something on your palette. I've just grabbed some colours that's sort of resembling here, and I want to just lightly bring them into the water like so. Now see, some of these are breaking up as I'm putting them down, and some of them can be a little bit too on the chubby side, so we don't want that. We just, because we're going to scissor this backwards and forwards in each other's colours, okay? More water. The better your brush. And I'm using quite a good quality paint here, but this is acrylic. Like I said, this will work brilliant for oil artists, but obviously I like my acrylics, so it's a bit of a challenge. And we're virtually getting the water. See here, some of this might look a bit stark. Knock them down a bit if you have to. Play around with it. I'm just doing this corner now, just so you get an idea of all we need to do, which will make the painting look like a great water surface. So what I'm going to do, while I've still got this paint on me here, I'm going to start jaggering this edge. I'll just break it up first like so, blobbing it, there we go, just like that. And then I'll moisten it up a bit, and we'll just want nice breaking up bits in the water. And then we're going to use the watercolour to sit this down. I mean, that looks like nonsense at the moment, but just wait till we do the other colour, okay? This fan brush is going to help. Okay, now I'm back with the similar watercolour, and we want to scallop bits in there. Now we'll put some surface light over here as well, very lightly. Some surface over here as well. Geez, I'm barely touching it, but there's a few bits on here that I've gone a bit heavy. I'll have to come back and lighten up. Now I'm going to wet the brush, wipe it. I've washed it, wiped it, and here, let's see if we can dull that down a bit, or am I ruining it? See, it's giving it more of an opaque surface, which is fine. Now, just finishing this off, I've just got pure titanium white, and I'm just crisscross scalloping some white here and there throughout these pieces that I've just put on. There we go. I'm happy with that. All right, it's pretty much an okay realistic painting for a beginner. Let me get this pen working, and I'll get an autograph on here. And also we'll put a frame on her. See how she looks. I don't know why I call all my paintings she, eh? There must be female, but you know, that suits a painting because all females are beautiful, and so are all paintings. All right, let's have a look at that in a frame. Yeah, there we go. That's not too shabby for a beginner, eh? We've got our reflective glassy water, and we're slowly getting some realistic foliage into our paintings there. Instead of just that bright or dull stampy stuff, we're going to try and move you beginners up a few steps or notches, all right? All right, I've got to run because Steve's down there and he's doing me head in. He wants a feed, okay? So be sure to check the links in the description below. There's one for my Facebook page. Add me as a friend and comment and message me. There's one for my video library content there. I've got nearly 200 videos on my channel here you can look through. There's a link for my paintings for sale as well, and my patrons page, all right? So if you like this painting and you like what you saw today, tell your friends and family, but if you don't, you better tell everybody, all right? All the best, goodbye, good luck, and good on ya!